I'd never put a name to it. I never said I feel depressed. I'd just been like, oh no, I'm just, tired, fatigued, whatever, kind of training stuff, and brush it off. As an Olympian, or as an aspiring Olympian, you never wanted to show any weakness. Even on the track, when you finish your races, you want to just walk off and not collapse onto the ground, because you want to be able to show that, you're still strong. And I think there was something there that kind of kept me closed in. And then, of course, when I went to the Olympics and I did so well, and coming back away from that and still feeling the same way, where I was just struggling day to day, it was really kind of a scary thing to think back and think how things kind of spiraled, and the emotions that I kept held within me just made everything worse. I was out training, I was going through the motions, trying to keep pushing myself every day to actually get out and train for the days that I actually made it out. Some days I just gave up, I'd just sit on the couch and not doing anything. And then after a while, it came to the point where I was thinking these bad thoughts while I was out training, these really, really dangerous thoughts about just finishing everything off and that'd be that. To the point where I was avoiding training because I was worried that I couldn't really trust myself to go out and be on my own. And I think the lowest point was just one particular training session where I was out coming across one of the bridges across the Brisbane River, and I just thought, what's the point? I just had to kind of pick myself up, get home. I didn't want to lose this kind of a battle. Like, I'm really, really competitive. And I think that's what I loved about racing, about athletics, was how competitive you could be, how pure it was. And I hated losing. So I picked myself up and managed to get home. But that's when I spoke to my wife, Katie. And from there, I just I wanted to make a decision, wanted to make a stand that I wanted to get better. I wanted to feel happy again. Commonwealth Games for me changed a lot. It was in that race, in that moment, as soon as the gun went, something else took over. Whenever I've stepped onto the start lines of races before, I've always felt like as I step on and I start racing, I become somebody else, I become free, and it's amazing, it's exhilarating. I love it, absolutely love it. And for a couple of years, I think I'd lost that. And then Commonwealth Games, it was back. The game plan going into that was sit behind the pack, just get through the race as well as you can, see what happens at the end, and you might be able to come over the top with some strength. As soon as I stepped on the line and the gun went, I went, no, I'm going to make a statement again, like to myself. Took it out from the start really hard and wanted to push these guys and say, if there's a day where I'm going to give it a crack, today's the day, and they're going to come with me. So I guess for me, that race was huge in terms of there was suddenly a mentality change where I went from sitting back and just trying to react to things to saying, no, I'm going to make my own positive changes and drive myself forward. Something managed to click on that day, and I went, this is where I move forward, this is where I move on. I wanted to make the decisions to be able to speak about what I went through and now own it so that I can move on. Speaking out to teammates on the athletics team was a huge step for me. They're the athletes who I was looking up to when I was running around with that little athletics and stuff and aspiring to become an Olympian. So talking to them and being able to, and trying to say, during a chat about mental health, I was trying to say, we really need to take a bigger stand on this because, I went down that road and it was so tough, and I'd hate to see any other athlete having to deal with that and maybe not make it out the other end. And they were all absolutely shocked that this is where I'd been for the last couple of years, because I'd kept it totally to myself. By keeping it to myself, I was pushing people away further and further. And I wish I was able to speak about it earlier, about what was going on in my head. But I had no idea, and I had no framework to say, what do athletes go through? That's how we feel. Okay, I'm actually feeling a lot worse than that. It's awesome that these new frameworks are being put in, with the AIS, with Athletics Australia. There's mental health and just well-being in general. Our athletes put so much effort and so much time and focus into peak performance that often we lose track of everything else that's going on around us. And it's so crazy to think, how much that if I was feeling better, if I was able to do my training or get through it all and enjoy doing it, how much more could I have achieved during that time as well? Coming out to tell my story publicly and speak about it is really just to be able to help other athletes who potentially could be going down the same path. I want to kind of normalize it, take away a bit of the stigma about, not just athletics, but males speaking out about mental health issues, being able to just deal with what's going on in their head and deal with emotions a little bit better. And now looking forward into Tokyo, look, I'm ready to fly. I'm ready to take guys on. I'm feeling a lot better, and just day to day, I'm happy with where I'm at and where I'm headed and what I'm doing.